Hi everybody, welcome back to Shibumi Boat Build YouTube channel, and our continuing work on finishing out Shibumi and hopefully launching it in the next year or two. So today we're going to move with a new part, and we're now way past restoration at this stage. We're now into actually finishing the build. So originally the radar arch, which is here as you can see, I mentioned earlier in some other videos that we put scaffold in to support it, and this is now strapped down on both sides. And what this is basically to hold that exactly where it was. When we built the radar arch for Shibumi, we built it in so that it was solidly built. That was the design, that's the steel that was supplied, and that's how it was. So we had to build this much of it to get it right. Otherwise, we just didn't know where it would sit and how it would all look and be straight. But years ago, I decided that this should be able to tilt. And years ago, and you can see by the state of the steel here, it's pitted, but it's 10mm steel. I'm totally happy to restore it and sand it down and make it work. So these parts I had built in a drawing, which I actually no longer have. I'm missing 2 drawings of the boat going back over 10 years, but I can work with these. These bits were laser cut in Dublin. Years ago, they've been left sitting out in the wilds for 10 years, but here we have them mocked up into their position of roughly where they will go. We will be cutting in here and mounting these in here, and then all of this is all going to get beefed up with some very strong steel. And if you just keep the camera where it is, and I'll show you. So we have the rams built and all. We had the rams made, they were made specifically in the UK for me a long time ago. And these will sit in here and lift and raise and lower the fly bridge. So the idea of it is that 4 bolts here will allow it to move 90 degrees within this pivot plate. So this is actually the hinge mechanism, and we will cut an arc on the outside to match this arc here. So we'll just wait till the camera comes around. So we'll just put this down. So the idea of it is that where it comes down here to the center point, which will be roughly around here, the bolt, we will have an arc more or less following the arc of the hinge inside. So it will move within, and then we plate out over the bit we need to take out, and then this piece will be straight and have a plate over it as well to weatherproof it. So the whole thing will be able to go back flat, because on top of the mast, on top of the radar arch, more to the point, we will end up with a radar dome, a myriad of antennas, satellite bits and pieces if we can afford them, cell phone coverage, all of that. So navigation lights, everything. So the idea of it is that we can bring this to some place with a low enough bridge that we're not trying to lose, even for craning, for just general trying to get it under places. It just makes sense to be able to lower the radar arch and also raise it. We will be incorporating locking pins, which will be drilled through hinge to hinge, some nice big heavy stainless steel pins that can be removed prior to. This is only going to get moved a couple of times a year at best, but the facility to have it while we're here still on land makes the most sense. So we have the bits, we have the rams, we have even the controls from the hydraulic pack that we have with the engine that was all specified. We're missing a bit of hose, a couple of days work to make this work, and sure, why not? back with a little bit of rain earlier, so that was the end of that. Not much, it's not very wet. So we left it with where it was tacked, with a time lapse of that you've seen. So I took the time, that's the gap in between the two, and there's some markings now starting to appear. So I took the time and I printed in real time on A3 paper the actual radius of the circle and the bottom lines, and the one I've already marked and cut, and they're going to be the cut points, which will have plating then to cover over, so you won't actually see them. They'll be stepped out, one out from the other. So I'm going to do a little slot here, and I'll try and get that little slot here. This bit will stay, it'll get cut just to here, and this then will allow it to swivel, and it'll meet at this point here. So inside, when we're getting close to fixing the ram, sorry the camera's so close, the ram will live on the inside, and we'll take this chunk out here and mount the ram down here. So that's just a case of setting that in due course. But my primary concern for now is to mark up the two of these. I'm just about to put the second one on the other side, just using magnets to hold them on. I'm going to scribe it and then either cut today or in the morning. I'll see. It shouldn't matter now at this stage. I have enough tack wells put on to support the whole thing. The bolts are hand tight, and we have the whole red arch clamped down solidly onto the scaffold, which is built all around the front there. So in time, hopefully we'll get this one on now. This is the before. I'm just about to put the piece of paper on there. If you can see the little lines there, and they line up with the lines on the drawing that I've printed, which is there, and that's printed in real scale, so it's printed 1:1 on A3. So what you print is what you get. That's exactly the right dimensions, which is very handy when you're dealing with CAD, if the parts are small enough that you can actually do that and make yourself an actual template. So I'll see how I get on. So there are the cut lines now transferred using the little stencils I made. I also marked the centre line to be able to tighten this bolt on the inside. It's a big M16, so we can get the socket in, but you won't get a ratchet in there. So I'm going to put a little cover hole on the centre line there. There we go, and put a small hole here to put the extension into. So this will get cut along there, following level. So the double slit here, where am I here? So this section here is all that's going to be taken out. Just this piece that's marked here. And then follow along the line and also cut the lower line and back in. So essentially all this can stay, and it'll just be this, and it'll slip down. One will slip down inside the other. Or at least that's the plan. So we'll see how that works out. I don't know if I'll cut tonight. We'll see how we go. So there we are, we're actually now on the hinges, other than the fact that it's still being supported by its weight on top, but essentially it's there. It's lined up pretty well. You can see there's about 1 millimeter down the front there, where it's just, we'll trim all that. There's nothing in here welded, so I can pad that out and strengthen it up, and all of that has to be all reinforced on the inside. But the cut went really well. Jigsaw and little inox disc. It's cut all the way around. We're now fully separated all the way through. So that's one side done. Now we do the other. So that's both sides done. This is the first side I did, and it's barely deflected. Literally 2 millimeters maybe. And I'll pick all that up in tensioning. You can see little gaps there, so by the time that's all tensioned back in and strengthened up, we'll pull it back in line on the other side. Bit more deflection here, about maybe 4, but I can see why I'm going to cut those little tabs there and kick it in towards the outside of the boat slightly, and that'll pull it back in line and just clamp it back in, and then beef this up in here. Just strengthen all this and pull it all back in. It's literally only held on 3 tacks currently, so it's just flexed out. It will just pull it back in, and there'll be a rib back down here to tighten it all up. So that's fine. So that's it for another episode of Building Shibumi. We'll make a video. So the big question in the next video will be, will the arch work, and will it do exactly what we think it should do? So this is all on Uncharted territory for us. So please like and share and subscribe if you can, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Thank you.